All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jake Vanderlinden. I'm going to be your host today for our Alexandria Researcher Enhancements Training Workshop. I'm really excited to have you with us today. We're going to be looking at some of the new things that we've added in, a new update for our reservations module, and just a few more things going on within the Alexandria program. With me today, click on the window here. Ooh, there we go. With me today, I have Seneca Ramirez. She's one of our customer success specialists. She's going to be working the Q&A section. So as a quick refresher, guys, really quick, either across the top or the bottom of your screen, you should see your little Zoom control panel, a couple of buttons in there for like polling. Be sure that you get your questions in through the Q&A section. All right. We're going to have Seneca monitoring that throughout the training today. As we're going through, we'll get questions addressed in each section, or we'll do an end of the session wrap up at the very end to make sure that we get everything addressed and look at those various parts of the programs as much as we need to. Other than that, guys, we're just really excited to start showing you what we've been doing with Alexandria in the last few months. So to get us started, we're going to talk about a few different things, first of which reservations. Then we're going to be talking about begins with searching, so a new way of using the search interfaces as well as some new changes to the Scout interface. And then we're going to be talking about our browse interface as well. A couple of new improvements coming along with that one. So if you guys are ready to get started, again, be sure that you're using that Q&A button so that you can get your questions in throughout our session today. We're going to go ahead and dive in and start talking about what's new with reservations. So as a quick refresher for everybody, we do have holds and reservations, and we've got two different reasons for using those things. As we get started, I am going to go ahead and shut down my video. That way we can stay focused on the program here, guys. So the big one is, why use reservations? So reservations are wonderful, especially for some of our high school and university level libraries, where students are going to be needing items for an extended period of time to do things like class projects, or maybe they're needing to get in and do some in-depth research for various topics. Reservations is a great tool for doing all those things, and we're going to talk about how to use it and some of the things for setting up and managing those reservations. So to get us started, guys, we're going to go ahead and jump over here into our program. Now, within the Alexandria program here, it's really important to keep in mind, everyone, when placing reservations, this is all going to be done through the search interfaces or the Explorer interfaces. Anywhere that uses that search display, you're going to find your reservation tools. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that at this time. And the beautiful thing with reservations is how easy it is to find. So if we go ahead and just do a quick search, maybe we want to find World War II materials. We've got a quick little, where we've got a project coming up here to go over World War II information. So we're going to go ahead and start in that section. Any one of our books here, we can find those reservation tools by simply clicking on the item here or expanding our results information so that we can get our item tools in the upper right-hand corner. All right. It is important to keep in mind, guys, that placing reservations will require a login. So when we click on that, we'll just go ahead and throw in our username and password. Our favorite test patron, Darla Anderson. I'm sure everyone's familiar with those. And you're going to get our new reservations window. The wonderful thing with this reservations window, guys, is that it's going to give you a whole new way of interacting and viewing those reservations while you're making it. So to get started, you've got to identify your site, the number of copies. We do currently limit this to a number of 3 copies per reservation. If you're needing a classroom set or something of that nature, you should have something arranged with the librarian to address classroom sets of materials. Otherwise, we do have a little bit of a restriction here. If you want to place individual barcode number reservations, you can do so. Otherwise, it is just a title-based reservation, meaning the first available copy to fill this reservation is what we're going to book out for you. The number of days is where you're going to indicate how long you're going to need that item for. Maybe we just need it for a school week, so just 5 days. And then the starting month is just where you're going to get started. You can move forward and backward through those results if you need to adjust that reservation start date at any time. So we're going to go ahead and say we need this in December. And when we go to continue, we can see starting December 1, here's how we can fill in those reservations. Now, if you're using your calendar to have library close dates and things like that, those preferences will apply. So if the library is closed on a Sunday, the reservation won't be able to start on that day. However, with our basic setup here in our demo database, we have all of those days marked open. Your students would then be able to click on dates throughout the calendar here if they want to change and see if their item is available on that day. or they can pick through their reservation list here on the right-hand side and see in the calendar how that reservation is going to play out. Once you've found the range that you're going to be looking for, you can go ahead and hit reserve, and you're going to get your message specifying success. Your reservation is ready to go. Feel free to place as many reservations as you want based upon your policy information. We are going to be talking about the preferences here in just a second, but keep in mind as well that your students and your visitors can also manage their reservations by going into their patron status section. That's this little person with the hula hoop icon up here in the top left corner, and they'd be able to see their reservations in this area as well. So under here, I go into reservations, and there's my item. If I need to remove my reservation, I can do so. So reservations as a whole, everyone has gotten a great update with how your patrons are going to be interacting with that. To go through that process again, we're simply going to click on our item, click on the calendar marker here in the right-hand corner of that item record, and then start placing our reservation. We're going to go for 5 days again, still in December. And you know what? We're going to do this the follow-up week, the 16th through the 20th here. And again, once you've got that confirmation saying success, everything should be good to go. Your visitors are going to be picking up those books from the library on those dates. This interactive window is meant to make it so much easier for your patrons to actually see when their reservation can be filled. And if you've got multiple items or multiple copies, they can go ahead and address multiples of that if necessary. Now, along with all of these tools, it is important to keep in mind that from the librarian standpoint, you can make these reservations as well. And with those librarian reservation tools, you also have the ability to override, basically meaning that if the reservation would fall outside of a range, meaning, you know, policies dictate that this reservation is too long, you as the librarian would be able to override that process as well. So in looking at the librarian side of our reservations window here, by going under our circulation section, in this area, we'll go ahead and we're going to grab a new test patron. We're going to go ahead and grab Jared here, and he's going to go ahead and make a reservation for us. So we're going to put this in reservations mode. You can also start those modes by going with your command from the keyboard, in this case G, and then enter to start reservations. And then we're going to go ahead and find our title. So he's going to grab our book Timeline here. And if I just use my equal sign while in reservations mode, that's going to bring up our reservations window. And the big difference here, everyone, if you can see it, is right here in the middle of the screen where we have our override policy restrictions, okay? Now, what this means, everyone, is that with our policies set up, we have preferences where we can specify how long a reservation is going to last or how many processing days we need between reservations in order for that book to be returned and rescheduled out to the next person. So there are policy restrictions that can apply that your patrons will not have the ability to override from the search window, okay? So in this event for our demo database, let's go ahead and we're going to say that this reservation is for 20 days. Our policies dictate that reservations can only be in place for 2 weeks currently with our demo data. So we will need to use our override policy restriction in order for this to be applied. Otherwise, from here, we can specify number of days, the same month. Let's go ahead and move this one to January here for Jared. And then we'd be able to move in and start working within our calendar view. Because, you know, the first 3 days of January are a holiday, we're going to go ahead and start that on the 6th. And when we place our reservation, we're going to get this success message. And because we're doing this with those overrides, we also get a message here dictating the policy overrides were selected and approved, okay? What this means, guys, is that if for some reason your patrons or your visitors, your students are coming in and trying to place a reservation outside of the specified policy ranges and restrictions within your preferences, they're not going to be able to do it. So what you would want to have them do is make a smaller reservation, maybe say 5 days instead of 2 weeks or something like that. And then on the librarian side, you would then be able to come in and edit those reservations. Editing reservations is of course done by bringing up the patron record as we have here in our left-hand window, going under the reservations tab, and then you can click on that reservation and say edit, all right? And then from here, you would again be able to extend out the number of days and use the policy overrides. So keep in mind, everyone, the librarian does have more control over placing reservations, overriding policy settings. But in the end, when it comes to our user side, our student side, and our visitor side, we want to just make sure that all of those things are in play. Now, once the reservation has been placed, everybody's gone in and gotten those things ready for you. As the librarian, there are two things that we want to be aware of for reservations as well. Those two sections are the preferences, so let's make sure that we know how those things are going to be operating. And then the second thing is our reports, what we're going to be running in order to fulfill those reservations. To get us started, we're going to start by looking at the preferences area. So if we go into our toolbox and then into preferences, from here, we're going to go into our policies area. All of our reservation controls are done through policies. And specifically in our policies, they're found under the other tab within each policy section. So we're going to go ahead and grab other for our standard patron and the other tab for our standard item in this case. Now, as we can see here, our reservations are found in the middle section. The big thing with our patron site is how many reservations they can have. So keep in mind, you might have some patrons with 0 reservations, maybe my elementary school. So if I come up here and say elementary school students, we don't want them making reservations. Holds are hard enough for them, so we're going to set up reservations in this case. For my middle school and high school students, maybe they can have up to 5 at the middle school. And for the high school, because they're going to be doing more research, we're going to set those to 10. All right. So don't forget to set the maximum number of reservations. You can set exceptions for these as well. And then on the item policy side, the maximum number of days is going to be how long they can have an item for. The days required between reservations, guys, this is the one that's going to be set up for any kind of processing days. All right. This basically says that, you know what, I'm going to need a day to make sure that I check that book in, verify that it doesn't have any damage, any issues with the item itself before a reservation can be placed. So again, those policy restrictions are going to be applied as your people are making reservations, okay? So definitely be sure, everyone, go into your policies, verify the reservation count numbers so that your visitors, your students, your volunteers, whoever might be interacting with your collection can get those reservations into the database. All right. Again, policy overriding is done from the librarian side. So if your people are ever running into those restrictions, don't forget you can always override and place reservations for them as well. Okay. Now, when it comes to gathering information, so once you've got the policy set up, as your students and visitors are starting to make use of the reservations module, the next thing that we're going to be needing to do is get some information about what's going on, okay, or what items we need to fulfill those reservations for. So in our tools section, if we come back to that tab here, we can go into our reports area. And here in reports, I just did a quick search here. So as everyone's aware of, we do have a full list of reports. Our reservation reports are typically found in their titles or copies, though I do just recommend coming in here and searching for reservations. And you can see right there, we've got our reservations notice report, as well as our list and item list reports. Please be aware, everyone, that we will be implementing our reservations label report as well here in the near future. That should be coming in play with our .6 or .7 release just before Christmas time. So you will see additional label reports for the reservations module coming up here again in the program. But for now, just be aware that those reservations reports, reservation list, this is a great report just to find out what reservations you need to hold. So for instance, if we need to find out what reservations we have in the month of December, I'm just going to go ahead and pull up December 1st through 31st, and we'll hit run. Retrieving that report from our operations management section here, there's our reservations list. And we can see here in our report, Seneca, I made that reservation for Darla in December, right?
That was in December.
Okay, let's see here. December 13th, 9th through the 13th, okay. Oh, I've got October in there. There we go. Let's try this again. So let's go December for the month of December, not December through October before. Let's rerun that. Sorry about that, guys. Here we go. This time for sure. There's our new reservation list. Let's grab that PDF. And as we can see here, there we go. Darla's waiting on those two books. One the third week of December and one the second week of December. So we've got both of those that show up. And you know, one of the wonderful things about running reports in Alexandria 7, guys, create and automate these things. So what we can do with our reports is we can come in here, and if we want this to be on a relative date range, show me all the reservations for this week. I can go ahead and create and save this report and have it emailed directly to me so that on Monday, I get a list of all the reservations I need to fulfill, so I can pull that information and have it available for myself or any of my staff. All right. So don't forget, create, save, schedule, all of those wonderful things to make your reservations just really move through the program here. All right, guys. So that kind of takes us through all of the things that we'll need to address with reservations, from patrons placing a reservation through the search and explore interfaces, reports that you're going to need to run as the librarian, and the preferences to manage those reservations. So let's go ahead and get some questions answered. Seneca, what kind of questions do we have about reservations?
We don't have any questions. You explained it wonderfully.
No questions at the moment. Okay, well, any other questions that they've had at all for getting started?
No.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, guys, I'm glad to hear that we're explaining this well for you. If you do have any of those questions, please don't forget to get those in through that Q&A button. We'll address those as much as we can throughout the program, or excuse me, throughout our session today, program. And then on top of that, again, we'll have a dedicated Q&A session at the very end of our training to make sure that we get any other questions wrapped up. All right. So reservations is a really cool module, guys. Before we move on from reservations, I do want to point out one additional feature. If you're a collection that does a lot of reservations, or if you're looking to start a dedicated reservation collection there at your school or at your district, I strongly recommend getting a hold of your account executive and asking them about our advanced bookings module. Okay, advanced bookings is really like taking reservations and moving it up onto steroids. We've got a few extra tools. We've got additional reports and features, one of which is the ability from right in your circulation module to simply go to your, here we go, under our action menu, we've got our advanced booking section, and we can really quickly process our reports, our utilities, everything that we need to do based upon our reservation ranges to get all of the information ready to get those items moving. If you do have any questions about that advanced booking feature, again, reach out to your account executive or our support department, and we can get you more information on that module. But that's really for those of you that are wanting to take your reservations and do a lot more with them. Okay, so don't forget, always more improvements going on in Alexandria all the time. Now, the next thing that we're going to be looking at today, coming back over to our slides, begins with searching. So after a lot of customer feedback and working through our program in a lot of different ways, we've added some improvements to both our search and scout interfaces, basically tailored into our begins with style searching. Begins with is a way, guys, to essentially root down information so that you can underspell or kind of key in what you know and let the system do the rest of the work for you. Okay, so jumping out of our circulation module here, we're going to go ahead and jump back over to our search interfaces. And we'll do a quick refresh here just to make this window nice and clean for us. But in the event that your kids are having a hard time spelling a word, or they're just not quite sure what they're going to be looking for, we can key in begins with style searching. Now, to do this manually, you're basically going to indicate your information. Say I need the word dinosaur, D-I-N-O. I'm going to use my asterisk symbol, and I am going to put quotations around the entire thing, basically stating, you know, I want to search in this order of lettering. There we go. I've got my books on dinosaur. Now, I realize, guys, this isn't the most user-friendly thing for a lot of kids. That's why what I recommend for kids is to just underspell. So if I'm here in search and I need to find dinosaurs, all I know is D-I-N-O. If I key that in, I get no results, but I do get this nice big button saying try a begins with search. If I click on that, it's going to reformat my search information. And now I've got some search results. Okay. This is a great tool, guys, for, like I said, students that just don't know how to spell some of those more complex words. Let's take another one like the word catastrophe, right? So I can go C-A-C-A-T-A, you know, catastrophe, S-T-O. I could definitely spell this, but let's think about this from a kid's point of view. They get in about so far. Now I can hit begins with search and I can get more information, okay? Catapults, catastrophes, all of those things, catastrophic, now show up within my search results and I can further refine that information, okay? So the idea here, guys, is that if your kids are having a hard time, they're not the best of spellers, have them try spelling what they do know and let the system do the rest for them. One additional feature that I'm going to strongly recommend getting into your system is be sure that if you're using Google Chrome or Firefox or any one of those browsers, that you are turning on the advanced browser spell check features, because what that allows for is, in the case of a misspelled word, like right here, I obviously misspelled dinosaur. You can see I've got those red indicators underneath the word saying it's misspelled. I can then right click on it and using the browser tools, get the correct spelling in place to perform my search accurately. Okay, so between the begins with search and those advanced spell check features, guys, we should definitely be able to get your kids pointed at the right items that they're looking for to find what they want to check out. Okay, so again, to get to that begins with search, go ahead and spell what you can. I'm looking for ballistics. I'm going to misspell it. Let's try that begins with search and see what we get to match afterwards. All right, obviously that's not quite right. Ballistics, and we're going to start finding more items. So again, guys, be aware, use those search results, those keyword buttons for the begins with feature, and you should be all set. The next thing that I want to mention about our begins with style searching is our Scout interface, guys. So any of you that are pointing your kids at the Scout interface, this entire interface operates with a begins with style search right out of the gate, okay? So if I come in here and just type in dino for dinosaur, I'm gonna start getting my dinosaur search results. Because Scout is by default set up for a younger audience, elementary schools, early middle schools, and things like that, we decided to build this feature in from the ground up, okay? So in any of those other things, I'm looking for books that are about catastrophes. Again, typing in catastrophe, C-A-T-A, we can start getting our search results, okay? The Scout interface has been improved so that they can also place holds and make reservations, or excuse me, not reservations, they can place holds and get more information within these item records. So once they've found their items, they would then be able to expand it, click on the hold icon here or the map icon to see where those books are located to go find their physical material. Keep in mind, you also have the ability to turn on the larger and smaller item cover art, as well as the show out feature. So if you're wanting to see items that are not available for placing holds, they would then be able to use those tools as well. The item is out, place my hold, okay? So begins with style searching, guys, extremely powerful tool in both Scout and search. This also plays into a lot of the other mechanisms that you're going to find throughout the various researcher interfaces. And if you have any questions regarding begins with style searching or how to get those preferences set up in the browser itself, definitely let our support staff know or contact any of our customer success team, and they'd be more than happy to help you out. All right, Seneca, any questions on begins with searching, search interfaces, things like that?
We do have one question from Chris.
Okay.
Wanting to know how to enable that advanced spell check in the browser, but it should be depending on the browser.
Yeah, it is a little bit depending on the browser, Chris, but this is a wonderful question. To help you guys out, first of all, I'm going to tell you what I'm using. Currently, I am using Google Chrome as my browser of choice here in our training. This feature is also available in Firefox. So you're going to want to be sure that you're in one of those browsers to get started. But what you're going to do is if you come into the tools for the browser, that's this icon up here in the top right corner, these three buttons. I'm then going to go into my settings. And here in the settings, I recommend just doing a quick search for spell check. That's going to do some refining here. And in Google Chrome, right under language, I can find my spell check, and I've got my enhanced spell check turned on, okay? Once you've got that enabled, you should see all of those underlines, all that information highlighted, and then again, you can right click on it and have the right word corrected for spelling in the Alexandria windows, okay? Firefox, you're gonna see it in the same area. Again, I do recommend just get into the settings, do a search for that spell check, and just be sure that it's turned on, okay? So great question though, Chris. What other questions do we have there, Seneca?
Okay, we do have a question from Patricia saying, wanting to know more about the show out preference and if that can just be turned on for everyone rather than having to go into Scout.
Wonderful. Okay, so Patricia, this is also a fantastic question. And yes, we can get those things turned on. So coming into our librarian side of the program, guys, if we go into our toolbox and into preferences, under our researcher preferences here, if we go into Scout, under our results list tab is where we're going to find those things. And you can automatically say things like show unavailable items. There we go by default, and hit save. You can also show additional information, guys. So if you need study programs, reading levels, call number information, feel free to turn that information on or off. And really quick, guys, as a reminder, because we have been making these improvements to all of our patron-facing interfaces, you are going to see search result options all over the place. So for instance, under our search section, if you don't use holds and reservations, you can go ahead and turn those buttons and icons off as well, okay? I do recommend, guys, always kick your initial search results up to the maximum. That's just going to help increase your search results right from the get-go. So that's a feature that I would recommend turning on for everybody, all right? But again, Patricia, you're going to go into your toolbox, into your preferences section, and then within preferences, go under researcher, and you'll find all of those settings. Okay, great question. Next question, Seneca.
Okay, so we don't have any more about this section.
Okay.
We do have a couple that came in for reservations. Do we want to wait for those till the end, or do we want to jump over there again?
Let's go ahead and hang on to those for a few more minutes. We're doing really good here on time, guys. Our next stop is browse, and then we'll kind of get back into that general Q&A area. So we'll go ahead and sit on those reservations questions until the end, okay? But I'm glad to know we do have a few in. We'll get to those here in just a minute. So if we're looking good on our search for the begins with style searching and the Scout preferences, let's go ahead and we're going to get started talking about our newer browse feature. So with that, guys, I am going to come back to my researcher settings here, and we're going to go ahead and talk about browse, this tool right here, guys. And the reason we did do an initial browse video when it first came out, the reason that we're touching on browse again, we've improved it. We've made it better. It's all coming together for us. So jumping into our browse module here, guys, the big thing with browse is a new way of seeing generalized information for your students. The big thing with browse is the newest thing that we've added, searching by study program. So if your students need to come in and just see books within a study program range, we've gotten these things in place here. But to kind of recap for everybody, the idea with our browse feature is just giving us some general groupings of information to see what items might fit our criteria. You can see that there's no search windows or anything like that. It is essentially just click-based. So I can come in here and say, you know what, show me my highest rated books, and it's going to go ahead and show those for me in my search results here. The window scrolls left to right for search results because of our new book view or bookshelf view interface style here. So you are going to be going side to side. This means that this is a wonderful interface, guys, for people that are using their mobile devices. If they're looking up things on their phones or on an iPad, browse is a great interface for them to use because they can just swipe left or right to see more information. Once they found the items that they're looking for, they can go ahead and click on those to get more detail. And then if they need to place a book hold or add this item to a list, they've got the ability to do so. Again, reservations are currently only available through the search and explorer interfaces that use that search style window. So we are going to be looking to add those reservation tools down the road as well. If they need to go through item by item, they can go ahead and arrow through those results. The end goal, though, everyone, is to give them a general idea of where they want to get started. And then if they need to look for more items, they can go into one of those other search interfaces. Now, As a quick heads up, everyone, unless your students are using the ranking system within search. And by that, what I mean, guys, is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do one quick sidestep here back to our search module. So unless your students, when they're looking at their items, are using these tools to rate their items, submit reviews, write information, that's what actually builds out our browse by highest and newest, or excuse me, highest rated search metric. Okay, so if you want to see search results using this feature, be sure that you're getting your students involved with writing reviews and putting information in on those item records for what they're reading. All right. Otherwise, the browse by newest is a feature to just show you the newest items added to your collection that usually looks within a dedicated date range, and you can always modify that date range. So you can say, show me the items that are newest this month. It does limit the search results to 50 items within this display. So if you are cataloging more than 50 items a month, you may be looking to address to shorten that date range, so that you can get the most current items to display within this section. Okay, we'll show you those preferences again here in just a few minutes. The other options that we have, guys, are searching by genres and study programs. When it comes to the genre style search, you can essentially select 10 genres to be seen simultaneously. So this means that I can come in here and we're just going to go ahead and say 1, 2, and we're going to be a little bit all over the place here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. We've got 10 options. I'm going to need to zoom out just a touch. Let's go ahead and back out of a few of these here. I don't know why my window wasn't scrolling. There we go. But you can select up to 10 genres. Pardon me there, everyone. And then when you've got those search results, again, just scroll through them to see what kind of items match. As you're clicking on your items, you can then see more information, call numbers and things like that, so that you would be able to go in and get more information on those items from either Search, Scout, or one of our other interfaces. Again, keep in mind that browsing by genre is limited to 10 genres at a time. So if they do need to redo their search, they would just be looking to come in, remove their current genre lists, and then select new genres to go ahead and perform that secondary search around. Browsing by the study program is just as easy. You do have a pick list for your different types of study programs. We do have a lot of Lexile information in our database here, so I'm going to go ahead and run with that one. And let's say that we need our Lexiles in the 100 to 300 range. That sounds about right. And from here, we can go ahead and get those items, scroll through and see what's available to us. Now, again, everyone, searching, further refining of these lists is not available through the browse interface. From here, if you had a better idea, you know what, maybe I do need to find dinosaurs within this study program range. From here, I'm going to go ahead and switch to my search platform so that I can further refine that by coming in here and saying, you know what, I need dinosaurs, and I need my study program for Lexile filtering between 100 and 300. And again, remember, guys, these study programs, mediums, genres, these are filters to further refine from initial searches. Okay, so here would be the items that I'm looking for. Maybe I need to place this one on reserve. So Browse has had a great update in allowing us to now do that browsing by study program. And then again, further searching by study program would be done by using those search interfaces and other things of that nature. So new things rolling into all of these new interfaces all the time, everyone. And we just want to keep you guys on the up and up with everything fun, new, and exciting that we're doing. Managing your browse preferences, guys, again, coming into your toolbox, going into your preferences section, and then in your researcher preferences, from here, you'll find your browse interface. All right. If you need any help with browse, if you need any additional information about that browse interface, definitely let our support staff know, or you can go out and visit our support center by clicking on that circle with the question mark in the top right corner to give you more details on what we're looking at. All right, Seneca. So What kind of questions do we have about browsing and searching now?
Okay, so this is one that I answered, but I think it would also be beneficial if anyone didn't see my answer
Wonderful.
there that I typed in. Chris would like to know if students have to log in to write reviews.
All right, Chris. Well, I am going to have to just clear this one right from the gate. Absolutely. Your students are required to log in to write reviews. The reason for this, Chris, is that how else are we going to know who wrote the review or what the review is about, what kind of content it has? The one thing that you can control, Chris, so when you click on your stars and you can see the review information, you do have the ability to show and hide student information on those reviews. The biggest thing here is that without knowing who wrote the review and where to save that information, i.e. student history and information is where it's actually logged in the back end of the program, there is no other holding information for that review. So your students are required to log in, but as soon as they click on that, they will be, prompted, if I want to write my review, to log in and submit that, okay? If they want to kind of just jump in things right out the gate, we are currently logged in as Darla, I think. Actually, I don't think we were because I didn't see a name up there. Here we go. But once they're logged in, writing their reviews, they would just go ahead and fill out the information. So from here, write review, key in my text, I loved this book, and then submit. The approval tool, the one thing, because we are dealing with students here, Chris, the approval tool is found in your toolbox under the reviews section. This is where you as the librarian would be approving all that information. So just bear in mind, yes, your students do have to log in. They do have to apply how many stars they're giving it along with their review, and then they can submit those. So, but yes, we do need them to log in. It's up to you how much information you show when people are viewing them, however. Okay, wonderful.
So far, no additional questions.
That's it. What
Yeah.
about the reservations questions? Didn't we have some that we wanted to get to there?
Oh, we do have our reservation.
Wonderful.
Questions.
So
we're at the end.
We're at the end, guys. So this webinar was meant to be a little bit short, a little bit sweet, just getting you caught back up on some of the basics here. Before we wrap up, or I mean, before we do get into that Q&A section, guys, I do want to thank you for giving us the time to introduce all of these things. So as a quick little recap here, let's remember that we talked about browse. I forgot to come back to my slide in between. A little bit rusty here, everyone. I do apologize about that. But so what we've talked about in our webinar today is we went through reservations, talked about the new module interfaces, overriding as a librarian, along with the tools and things to manage those reservations from your preferences through your report tools. Again, if you're really looking to take reservations to the next level, I definitely recommend getting a hold of your account executive and asking about our advanced bookings module. It's a wonderful addition for your reservation needs, gives you a lot of tools to do one-stop shop management. We talked about begins with searching through both Scout and Search, and as well as that, we talked about new tools to use in your browsers to make sure to get spell checking done properly. All right. The last thing we looked at is the new enhancements to our browse interface. Don't forget that Browse is a wonderful interface for your students to use on their mobile devices. So iPhones, iPads, what's that other type? Android, right? Androids are a great one to use for that as well. So be sure to get your people interacting with your researcher as much as possible. So from here, we're going to go ahead and jump into our regular general Q&A, guys. Seneca, what do you got for me?
Okay, so Jody has two questions regarding reservations.
Okay.
Our first question is, can people make reservation on items that are checked out?
Oh, absolutely, Jody. Reservations, the big thing with the reservation is the time frame. So if an item is currently checked out right now, of course, I can't place it on reserve because it's not available for that reservation. A reservation is meant to be placed in advance. So if the item is checked out right now, no worries, I need it 2 weeks from now, I can place my reservation 2 weeks in advance. What will happen, however, is if somebody is trying to place a reservation, say at a time that that item is already on reserve, or that item is already on hold or checked out to another individual, they're just not going to see that reservation date allowed. It'll skip over it saying unavailable for whatever reason. Usually it has to do with availability issues, and it'll make you go pick a different date range for that reservation. So to answer your question, no, a reservation will never override a transaction. Reservations are meant to be placed in advance before the item is actually checked out.
Perfect. And then our second question from Jody is, how far in advance will pending reservations show up?
Wonderful. So Jody, great question. Currently, the restriction within our reservation module is 90 days. Essentially, we can let people place items on reserve up to 90 days in advance. And of course, that has to do with the settings in your preferences. So for instance, if you're looking at your preferences here in policy preferences, once my screen resolves here. So if I've come in here and my preference says that, a reservation can last for 30 days. In essence, they do have 30, 60, 90, 120 days available to place that reservation for, but the reservation can only be 3 months out from where we're currently at. So you can't have people placing items on reserve a year in advance, 2 years in advance. We have currently restricted that based upon customer feedback. If you guys feel that we need to increase that time, definitely let us know. Get something into our ideas platform. So don't forget, guys, you can always go to goalexandria.com, goalexandria.com/ideas. And you can go ahead and get that into us. Let us know that you need more time frame or an extension on that reservation period. We'd be happy to look into getting that improvement created. You can also reach us right through the program as well, guys. So if you go through your circulation window here, under the support tab, in your pull down, there is a section for ideas. Feel free to email us this way, or I strongly recommend use our ideas form button. You can get straight out to that ideas page and submit your idea through our collection format. Okay. But currently, Jody, to answer your question, 90 days is the current allotment for advanced bookings. So anything more than 90 days out, and you're going to have to deal with your policy restrictions and overrides. Wonderful question. Okay, Seneca, any other questions on anything that we've talked about today, or just questions about Alexandria in general?
We do not have any additional questions.
Well, all right then.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet is what we were shooting for. Well, everyone, we are going to leave the session open for a few more minutes. So if you do have any other questions, be sure to go ahead and get those into that Q&A section. Otherwise, it's been a real pleasure having you with us today. As always, I love hosting these workshops and getting more information out to our customers. I hope that you guys are finding these things as useful as we are in putting them on. Let us know what you think. We do have submission forms after every webinar. Let us know what we can do to improve, what we can do to make these a little bit better, a little bit more interesting. We love your feedback, so let us know. But thanks again for joining us, everyone. If you're ready to go or don't have any questions, we'll see you in the next one. Otherwise, we will be around answering any other questions.
And just as you were wrapping up, we do have a question coming in.
Hey, there we go. Fantastic.
Nita, and she would like to know, if a book is on reserve, can it be checked out to other people?
No, Anita, that is not going to be allowed. Essentially, when somebody places a reservation on that item, there is a temporary, it's essentially a temporary checkout placed on that item saying that it will be unavailable during that time frame. So if somebody were to come up and try to check out that book and the due date would overlap into the reservation, okay, so my book is checked out for 2 weeks at a time, a reservation starts a week into that checkout time frame, that checkout will not be allowed because the policies are stating that there's a reservation that book has to fulfill, and its full checkout time frame will not allow it. So those books will be flagged and you'll have to set them aside, let the students know to go check out another item, or you can deal with the person that made the reservation. So no, a reservation will effectively hold that item for that person during checkout.
And Patricia would like to know if we will be hosting one of these for authority control at any point.
Patricia, you know what? I think you just picked our topic for our next workshop. Authority control it is, because I was thinking about this earlier myself. Authority control is an amazing new tool, especially for item management and cataloging. And I think we could have a lot of fun doing authority control. So one quick FYI, guys, with some of our limited resources, these workshops have been extended out. So we're now hosting them quarterly is our game plan. We're not able to deliver on a monthly schedule right now just because we are really busy with on-site trainings. But we are going to build content. But Patricia, I love the idea, and I think we know what we're going to do next. Make sure you get that in the survey though, okay? We'll always review that beforehand. So great question though, Patricia.
And Chris would like to know the difference between an on-shelf hold and an in-stock hold.
Okay, Chris, let's go back to the program here really quick. The only difference is a physical location. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick reminder here, guys. Remember, with holds, we actually have 3 types of holds. We have a standard hold, which just says hold. We've got an in-stock hold, and we have an on-shelf hold. And the difference between them is physical location, okay? An on-shelf hold is meant to mean, and let's go ahead and place one of these on-shelf holds here really fast. So I'm going to take Darla. We're going to place this item on hold for her. There we go. We've got our book, and it says it is available now and will be held for you. So if we come into our circulation side here and bring up Darla, we can see that she's got an in-stock hold. In-stock means that that book is there in the library. Maybe it's sitting at the counter. It's up at the front desk with the librarian. Maybe it's on your holds card. It's in one of those physical locations. When you see something that says on shelf, it basically means we saw that you placed that hold, but we have not had time to go out and retrieve it from the library itself. That's all that it's indicating, is a different physical location. So think of it as one is still out in the stacks ready to be retrieved. One has already been pulled and is sitting at the desk. The third option is that the item is checked out. Really, however you guys choose to manage your holds, it is entirely up to you. In the event that you do see an item with a shelf hold, essentially to change that shelf hold to an in-stock hold means that you've scanned it or you've addressed the item at the counter. So if I were to say, let's grab a different book here. I'm going to go ahead and search for, there we go. So I'm going to take our Jurassic book here, right? Or Jurassic Park book, excuse me. And we're going to go ahead and place this item on hold. So I'm going to go H equals, and you can see the item says on shelf, meaning it's currently out in the stacks away from us. Darla's got our in-stock hold. If I then bring the item up to B11336, I get my message here stating this item has an in-stock hold currently, and it's now changed to in-stock. And you're only going to see that in-stock on shelf on the item itself, everyone, because it is indicating where physically in the library the book is located. In stock generally meaning that you've pulled it, it's at the desk, it's with the librarian. On shelf meaning it's still out there and waiting. The idea for the 2 statuses, everyone, is so that in the interim, Darla's in her classroom, she places the item on hold. While she's making that hold, a student in the library comes up and tries to check the book out. We can see the difference. On shelf, in stock, okay? That's really all that it is. Physical location, how you would like to address those holds is entirely up to you guys. So great question though. Holds are a very integral part in any library. And keep in mind, guys, holds and reservations are handled differently. So if you do have any questions about either one, we can address each one in turn. So next question, Seneca.
Okay. Jody has a couple more questions about reservations.
Okay.
Is there a limit to how many reservations, oh goodness, can be placed on an item?
On the item itself, no, we do not have any restrictions on the items, because essentially, so long as the item's available, we can have reservations on any time. The only place where we have a number of reservations, and just for a quick reference here, Jody, all of this is going to be controlled in your toolbox by going into preferences, and then this is done with your policies. Okay, so under policies, when you go to those other tabs, you can see all we have is how many reservations a person can place, and then how many days a reservation can last for the item. Because in the end, you know, if we have 2-week reservations on every item and it's reserved every 2 weeks, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It means that item is getting a lot of use. So we don't have any restrictions on how many total number of times an item can be on reserve. What you can do though is that within your own collection, you could make things like, when a person places an item on reserve, you're going to run reports and gather information on what people are checking that out. So you could tell an individual, you can only reserve an item so many times, but it would be on you to put notes on their account and alert messages to make sure that they're not, placing the same item on reserve all the time. So in the end, it is a little bit of a fuzzy area between how many times an item can be reserved, because that's on a per individual basis, not necessarily an individual item. So essentially though, you're going to look at your patron information. Next question from Jody.
Her second question was tying into the first, but
perfect,
you answered both of them.
Okay, wonderful. Good to know. I like it when I can get two birds with one stone. That makes it nice and easy. So.
And we do have one other question from Risa, but it is about holds.
Okay.
Wanting to know the difference in your circulation between a hold and hold copy mode.
Okay, so the only difference in Risa, thank you for the question, Risa. So the only difference between hold mode and hold copy mode is the individual physical barcoded copy, okay? So in the event that I just want to take a book that I have multiple copies of, so let's grab a different novel. Unlike Jurassic Park here, let's go ahead and grab one of our Harry Potter novels. Usually we've got a couple of duplicates in here. So right here, I've got Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. This book has 2 copies and both are currently available. So right now, if I place a hold on this item, it means that either one of those copies can fulfill that hold. So that would be my H command, okay? Hold command. I just want to place a hold on a book. The HC command for hold copy would mean of those Harry Potter books, okay? So if I come back to Harry Potter and then go to circulation, hold copy is going to say this barcode number, barcode 21807 specifically, is going to be held for Darla. So when I come in and look at her holds, I'm going to see here barcode 21807. So it can't be fulfilled by the other copy. It can only be filled by that copy. This is really not pertinent when placing a hold. Typically, it is a general title hold, Risa, that you're going to be looking to place. But that is the difference. It's saying, I want the next version of this book that comes in, or I want that exact copy of that book when it comes in. And it could be something like maybe 21807 is a hardback book, and our other copy, let's see here, not copy stats, our other copy 12071 is a paperback. It might be something as specific as that, why I want to place a copy hold on this one as opposed to that one. But 9 times out of 10, most people are just looking for the standard hold mode. So hope that answered your question. Very little difference, but holds versus hold copies, really pretty specific. So,
and a little clarification here from Nita. Could an item have multiple reservations? So kind of as you were saying, a classroom is putting it on reserve one after the other every 2 weeks, but at least that way you're kind of keeping track of who's reserving it. So kind of what we were going over a little bit with Jody about how many reservations, just kind of they're able to continually have them.
So Risa, to address your question, yes.
Sorry, Nita.
Oh, Nita, sorry. So Nita, to address your question, absolutely. So long as your policies and preferences are set up to do so. Now, in this case, if you literally just wanted to go from one class to the next class to the next class, this is the feature that we'd be looking out for, this days required between reservations. If this is set to 0, that means that literally that book can go from classroom to classroom to classroom to classroom without ever actually needing to come back to the library for checkout, so long as somebody knows the number and can say process that reservation, okay? If you are including anything like buffer days, when an item comes back, I'm going to need a day or 2 to confirm that it's not damaged, it's not got any issues with it, maybe I need to put the kit back together. So if you have any days in between, this can affect those processing dates, but otherwise, absolutely. So long as the preferences and the policies here are set up to allow it to go from one to the next, you can abut those days as much as necessary. What the reservations module will do, however, is it's not going to allow for those overlaps. So when you're looking at your calendar, and you know what, let's just look at a general calendar here for a reference, right? So if I make a reservation on, say, a Sunday, 2 weeks means that that item doesn't come back till Monday. So the next reservation cannot begin until the 21st. That means that it's going to push it a day out. So it would move to here. So we do have to keep in mind that there is always going to be a day returned, checked out, because there is a processing period in there. So reservations will have to allow for butt to butt essentially days. And we'll get rid of that as our example here. So yes, it can be possible just to run reservation after reservation. All of that is set up by the policies. Wonderful questions though, guys. These are fantastic questions that we're getting here. All right, Seneca, any other questions today?
That looked like it was the last of it. I haven't seen any more coming through just yet.
All right. Well, everyone, again, thank you so much. We're about 5 minutes early, and we'll call this a good wrap-up point. We will leave this session open for the last 5 minutes in case any others do sneak in. Bear in mind, though, we will be responding to those in text format only. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next training workshop. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Take care.